Stray, the game that has you playing as a cat set in a cyberpunk city full of robots. What's not to love? The game generated a lot of buzz around the fact that you can play as a cat, and there's a flood of Steam comments that go something like, "Can meow, 10 out of 10. But is the game really worth $30? It's a short game and it can be beaten under 2 hours, which is also an achievement to do that. There's also no multiple endings, so with that in mind, I would still say it's worth full price on PC. Personally, I found the story and the world design to be well worth full price, but I also say on PC because there's just a ton of mods for the game. At the time of this review, there's like 176 mods. And on PlayStation, it's free with PlayStation Plus, so you guys definitely check it out there. So this is going to definitely be a spoiler review, so if you haven't played the game or you plan to play it and you don't want it to be spoiled, go ahead and leave a like and come back afterwards. Definitely want to hear your take on the game. So with that being said, let's go ahead and head into Wall City 99. The cat looks and moves like a real life cat, which is important to get right since it is the character you play the whole game. They could have just stopped at giving you the ability to meow on command, but they didn't. They let you stop and scratch carpet, scratch the walls. You can even drink water and play with toys, even as well as take cat naps. And funny enough, there's actually achievements for doing these things. And I think it's actually important that they did this. You can even rub up against the robots like cats would do with humans, and it's kind of funny because the robots will have like little hearts in their face and such. And the reason why I said I think it's important that you had these little things is sometimes I would almost kind of forget that I was playing as a normal cat. Once you meet up with B12, he does all the talking with the robots, which is, you know, logical considering you're a cat and there's no way you'd be able to talk to the robots. But I come sometimes just because there's a lot of talking in the game and, you know, a lot of different robots you can have conversations with, that I would almost kind of like just forget. Like I almost feel like I was playing as B12. But, you know, having these little things kind of like helped you like snap back. It's also great, like a lot of the cutscenes they do like show things like from the cat's point of view, you know, like when you come across the Zergs or other like enemies, having like cat hiss and just like run away, act like a real cat, you know. Thought that was great. The opening is very simple yet heartwarming. You know, as you're playing with your pack and you have the rainstorm in the background, it's really beautiful and great. And then the morning comes and it brings like a lovely little tutorial showing you how to jump and run, as well as how to chain jumps across different platforms and such. And then of course comes the heartbreaking scene where you fall into the slums of the dead city. They did, you know, kind of like really tug on your heartstrings a little bit more because they had the cats of your pack sitting there like meowing and just watching helplessly. And when you actually do fall into the city and you wake up and start walking, you can hear them meowing from up top before passing out. The only complaints really had is I wish they would have had unlockables, like more cat skins, maybe different colors for the backpack that you wear that can hold B12, just things like that after beating the game or completing achievements. There is none for, I can tell. I didn't see any unlockables or any option for them. On PC, mods do help though with this. The Nexus community is definitely pumping out mods and great looking skins. A lot of people are making skins that look like their own personal cats they have, and there's some funny ones too. My favorite one so far is the Garfield one, but then I'm sure you guys have seen the CJ one making the rounds across the internet. And like I said, at the time of this recording, there's like over 176 mods, so they're definitely pumping them out. But really, that was probably my only big complaint, was that I wish they would have had more unlockables and stuff. Besides that though, like I said, running and jumping feels very fluent, very good. I never felt like the controls got cheesed or like caused me to die, anything like that. And the cat looks really well. As you make your way through the dead city, you'll notice that someone or something is trying to get your attention. They're trying to get you to follow them. They end up leading you to a flat. You find a pod and as well as a box with a tiny robot in it. The robot actually made me think of the ones from the movie Batteries Not Included. You end up placing him on a data pad, and just like that, B12 has been freed. It's never actually said how long he's been trapped in a network, but you get the hint that it's been at least a couple hundred years and such. And then you also will, from talking to him and the other companions, get the idea that the humans have been gone for, I gotta say, probably 500 to 1,000 years or so. B12 is able to talk to the companions, since while he was trapped in the network, he did learn how to speak their language and such. And you know, I really did like B12 a lot. He was a really cool character, and liked a lot of the insight he had here, collecting his memories and just learning about the demise of humans. You will collect his memories pretty easily throughout the game, but in order to collect them all, there will be some that you'll have to actually go searching for. You won't find them just on the linear path and such. You can think of B12 as kind of like Navi from The Legend of Zelda, except not annoying with the hey. But he will help you and give you insights, and also give you hints on where you should go next. I really enjoyed, though, like I said, I really enjoyed B12, and I really enjoyed the cutscene with him in the sewers. That was probably one of my favorite moments with him, besides the ending. But I will leave that to later in the review. So the NPCs that you'll come across in this game are robots called companions, and what I've gathered from talking to them and reading in-game lore, they were created by the humans. They're AI robots that appear to have taken the personalities of their creators. At least that's what it looks like on the surface level. I've only completed the game once, but I did notice that the companions or robots at the top of the city at the very end of the game are like straight robot, like no personality to them at all, compared to their AI counterparts in the lower part of the city. The ones in the club are probably my favorite out of like the non-main characters that you come across. One was trying to sell you mixtapes, and then there was another one trying to fight the Sentinels, and then things really got wild once you get into the club. Like they were great. I did get a feeling though that a lot of the companions in the lower levels might have been as humans who uploaded their personalities into the machines, a lot like what happens at B12. But I didn't find anything to state this as fact. I can only go based on the fact that I do see a lot of pods around that look like the one B12 had, and the fact that, like I said, the companions in the lower levels all the way up until you reach the very top of the city all have very human-like personalities. And yes, they're AI, and they could have just learned from the humans, but they definitely feel like humans to me. So that's what I at least got from them. And one thing that's really good about this game, at least cool in my opinion, is that as you progress through the story, make sure to go back to companions before you talk to you, because the dialogue will evolve, and there are a lot of side quests. So definitely try to speak to every companion you see, and try to go back and talk to them again after you completed some of the story. There might be things that they have also tell you and such. So the 4 main companions in the game that are essential to the story are called the Outsiders. I actually really enjoyed all 4 of them. There's pretty much, like I said, they're essential to Stray's narrative. There are a bunch of robots, or 4 robots, who dream of making their way out of the walled city they find themselves in. So the first of the outsiders you meet is named Momo. The first time I met him in his apartment, I felt bad for him. This poor robot is his desperately trying to contact the others, but the transceiver is broken. I actually explored the slums before I actually met Momo, so I've already had collected the notebooks from the other members, so I didn't have to do that side quest that I would normally have you do. After you end up fixing his transceiver, he is able to make contact with Z, who is another of the outsiders, and then in order to actually get to the sewers to meet up with the rest of them, you have to find another member called Doc. After you save Doc, you and Momo can start your journey through the sewers. I really liked Momo. I thought he was one of my favorite out of the outsiders. Unfortunately, he doesn't get to go very far with you through the sewers, as the door breaks and he can only open it enough for you to continue on. But I can happily say that he does make it to the end of the game, and seeing him at the end credits, or at least at the end cutscene, was really nice too. But yeah, definitely, I think Momo is probably my favorite out of all the outsiders. Doc was another great character who definitely was inspired by Doc Brown from Back to the Future. He left the slums to try and test his special weapon called the Defluxor. It uses high intensity UV light, and since Zerk are bacteria, their natural enemy would be UV rays. You don't interact with him much, unfortunately, but I did enjoy helping him escape the Zerk in the dead end chapter. He asks you to turn on a generator so you can power a defluxor, which ends up finding you running in circles and dodging Zerk while he blasts him with UV light from the apartment. It's pretty fun, and he ends up fitting the defluxor on B12, giving you a chance to use it for yourself. The last part of the chapter has you escorting him back to the slums, where you end up fighting more Zerk. You finally make it back, and you can actually reunite Doc with his son, which is very heartwarming and was a satisfied ending. The third member of the outsiders you meet is name is Zabaladzar. I can't pronounce it. I call him Z. He's pretty much a robot hippie. He's getting enlightened by being plugged into the network directly. There wasn't much dialogue with this member, but you could tell they did care for the team. Momo was really happy to hear from him, and he'll give you a picture and an address to the last member and send you on your way. Besides that, though, like I said, at least with my playthrough, he didn't really have much to say besides that, and I just got the feeling that he was kind of just there to send you on your way. He wasn't really much of a character, like in terms of like depth. There wasn't much to him, but it was kind of funny seeing him plugged into the in the computer and such. And then the final member of the team that you meet is Clementine, and you meet her on your way to the outside. You'll find her in Midtown, which seems to be type like a Tokyo style from the Wall City. As soon as you step into the city, you'll notice that she's public enemy #1. I did find the puzzle of tracking her down very clever. She's a great character with a strong personality. She's the only member of the outsiders who's still actually trying to escape and has an actual plan to do so. She'll send you off to steal a battery that you'll need to get the subway working, and which she plans to use to get to the top of the city. Though she does end up getting kidnapped, which leads you to the club. Of course, you get double crossed and you end up in a prison, which you end up helping her break out of, and it was great. But I was also sad when she chose to stay behind so you could make it to the outside, which at the end she does officially make you a member of the outsiders. She definitely was, I'd say, like the strongest member of the team, and overall at least had the biggest chance of getting out of the city. I will say though, I'm happy to see that at the end of the end game scene that she did end up making it and not die, because I was kind of worried that she was going to get caught by the Sentinels and such. But overall, she was a great member of the team, and I would say Midtown was probably one of my favorite parts of the game. Fighting the Zerks and running from them was really cool, but like the Midtown part was like a lot of fun, and it was just really alive, and like fun seeing how the companions had taken over for the humans. I don't know about you, but the first time I saw the Zerg, I was getting Half-Life Alyx flashbacks. The backstory is that the Neocorp created a bacteria that would eat the trash in the city. Humans end up disappearing, and now the bacteria is mutated. Now it eats metal, which includes the companions. It'll attempt to tackle you when you're in chase. You can press B to shake them off, but if too many grab you, you'll collapse and die. It is an achievement if you die more than 9 times, which I feel like it's really hard. You have to actually try to do it because I didn't die once the whole time I played the game. There are big ass yellow eyeballs in the sewers that were hella creepy from them. I assume the Zerg are some sort of like hive mind, and the eyes appear to be called the Zergs to attack you. They're probably like the mind of them. It's never explained though, and I assume you will never be, or maybe in some DLC or a sequel to explain it. A lot of the Zerg do die when you do finally open the city, as the sunlight comes pouring down like a missile and just ends up frying all the ones in the city streets. But the sunlight can't come through the sewers, so the hive mind isn't dead as far as I know. And overall, they were a cool enemy. Even though they weren't in the game very long, I did enjoy running and blasting them with the defluxer. And it'd be cool to, if there's gonna be some DLC or maybe a sequel, to see more of them. I'm assuming that there's more cities. If this is Wall City 99, and maybe it's like Fallout, and there's probably at least 98 more cities, and I imagine that maybe they have bacteria also in the cities that end up mutating the Zerg, or maybe they mutated in something else. I don't know, but either way, I did find them as a cool enemy, and they kind of look kind of cute, but they're evil, and they kind of, like I said, it remind me a lot of the head crabs from Half-Life. Once you reach Midtown, you'll be greeted by flying robots and sentinels chasing one of the companions. You'll find out that the Peacekeeper robots were created by the citizens of Midtown to fight against groups of lower class humans that started the revolt against the mistreatment and oppression that was happening. Pretty much nothing had changed when the humans locked themselves on the ground. They still locked them or separated themselves by class and such. It's not fully clear what's going on, but I understood that the Peacekeepers were being controlled by the control room at the top of the city. The ruling class of humans must have put programming in place to stop anyone or anything from attempting to reach the top and leaving the city. This would explain why Clementine is public enemy number 1, considering that she wants to leave the city. I did find it fun to run between their legs and watch the sentinels fall face first on the ground. At first it didn't seem too dangerous or scary, but once you make it to the prison, you start to see the true horror of their oppression. Once the city does open though, it deactivates the program, which brought me to my theory that it was just continuing the Iron Fist rule that the humans had programmed them to do in the first place to actual humans. You'll do notice that they seem to take any companion who is suspected of wanting to overthrow them or leave the city, and they will wipe their memory completely. Now this seems extremely scary thinking about for the companions. You do see some of them that have their memories wiped and they're just literally laying on the ground with like a blue screen on their face and such. So this part was pretty interesting, and I liked that they had more depth to it and there was an actual conflict and such. So the first level in the game is called Inside the Wall. The game will open up with this beetle thunderstorm raging and such. You can see the outside of the city looks very old, and you can tell that nature's taken back with the overgrowth of vines and trees and such. The cats will be playing with each other, and then it's bedtime. The next morning it's nice and sunny. You'll head down from the hallway into the inside of the city walls. Like I said, you can tell no human's been here for at least a couple hundred years or more from the look of things. This part of the game does serve as a tutorial, and it's a great way to familiarize yourself with the controls. There's plenty of room to run, jump, and such. And I understand the game was meant to take place inside the city, but it would have been kind of cool to maybe see a little bit more of the city walls, at least maybe even at the end of the game, see the city walls, because, it's been kind of interesting to see what else is out there and such. After awakening from the fall, a sewer door opens and you run under it. Once you jump the fence, you're greeted to the dead city. You see a few Zergs scramble along and then notices the security cameras are watching you. Someone or something has been trying to grab your attention. The devs did a really good job of making the city feel like it's been abandoned for 100 years. I know it's called a dead city, but it really also feels like the companions as well have not been there forever as well. You roam around, coming across a dying companion. It attempts to communicate with you, but since they have their own language and you're just a cat, you're not able to understand it. It finally does die though. The lights keep signaling you to follow the path though. I really like the mixture of the cyberpunk with the old buildings in this level. The alleyway with the Zergs was also very fun and terrifying as you're being chased by hundreds of them and you don't want to see your furry friend die. I did like exploring inside the flats. It was cool to see how the humans lived and such. You finally do make it to the flat where you discover B12 and then you make your way to the slums in a bucket. I really liked this part at the end, seeing like all the Zerg below and stuff. It was actually a really nice scene. The slums follow the same architectural design as the dead city, except that they're actually lit up. I really love that the neon lights of the city really make it feel alive and such. There's a lot to explore here and the characters are all very interesting. I really like climbing high up just to enjoy the view. The slums get dumped on with trash from the rest of the city, but the companions have made a living out of salvaging it. The companions here are just trying to survive against the Zerg, and since the main elevator has been broken for years, the only way up is through the sewers. The sewers, of course, are run by Zerg, so for nearly all of them, they wouldn't make it. I spent a lot of time exploring the buildings and talking to the companions in this area. There are a few of them that will ask you to collect items, and I suggest for your first playthrough taking the time to explore everything and talk to everyone as possible. So after you help Momo fix the train receiver, he sends you off to place it on the tallest building in the slums. This level is called the rooftops. As soon as you step foot into this level, you're going to see just how rampant the Zerg infestation is. What I really liked about this level was the puzzles. There's just a lot of forcing you to think while running and such. Get to change your plans halfway through because the Zerg will end up dropping out of nowhere. And while the dead city gave you a taste of how big the Zerg infestation is, whole buildings are just covered by bacteria here. The final run on the rooftop and dodging packs of Zerg while waiting for the elevator to reach the ground floor was intense and very fun. I really did like it. And the view from the top of the towers is very beautiful. You get to see the whole slum as well as the chaos that the Zerg is causing. The trip back to the slums in the bucket is also a great shot as well. This is pretty much kind of like a point for point view of the first one, except this is from a grand scale. I really did enjoy that view, enjoy that section of the game. The next level you're going to explore is called Dead End. Like Dead City, it's empty, but it's got a lot more light than the original area you first came into. There's the mad dash through the canals while dodging the Zerg, which is a lot of fun. But besides that, there's not a whole lot to this chapter. You end up making your way to the apartment where you find Doc. His apartment's got some pretty interesting stuff to look at. He's got a few Zerg in cages used for testing, but overall, this area was pretty short. Like I said during the review part with Doc, once you turn on the generator, you're gonna be ducking and dodging Zerg while he's blowing them up. The tunnels were probably like the best part of this level, besides maybe the canals. During the tunnels, you're going to be going through the vents, trying to unlock doors for Doc while taking out the Zerg. Overall, the highlight of this level would definitely, like I said, be the canals, but so overall, it wasn't a waste of time and it still felt fun, even if it was part of the shortest in the game. The next level has you going through what's called the sewers. In order to get to Ant Village, you're gonna have to go through them. Momo starts off the level by taking you through the sewers on a makeshift boat. About 2 minutes into the level, you start seeing the sleet level and infestation that's taking place by the Zerg. The sewers are the perfect place for it to grow and overwhelm the city. In this level, you come across these big eyeballs that don't appear to be affected by the UV rays. I'm not sure if they evolved to resist them or what, but since the city hasn't been open since the Zerg mutated, it could just be that the devs didn't have programming to react to it. You bet I tried to kill them with the Fluxure though. The Rooster Room has a massive eye, and that was a great scene, and the ending chase is a lot of fun. It was creepy having those big eyes chasing you the whole time. After spending the first half of the game running and killing Zerg, it's nice to get a break here in Ant Village. It's such a peaceful place with all the companions are super chill. There's some collectibles to gather in this level, so explore everything and talk to everyone. Once you've taken in the sights and a much needed break, it's time to climb up the village and head on your way. There's really not a whole lot here besides that. Finally, we're at the cyberpunk city we saw in the trailer. This part of the city is really alive. They don't have to worry about the Zerg or survival, so there are shops, housing, and even clubs. The waste facility is running at full speed. Unfortunately, even though all seems fine, there is evil here. The Sentinels were built to keep the lower caste citizens from revolting when the humans were around. Now they just keep the other companions in check. Any companion trying to leave the city gets put in jail. The city felt very alive, the club was super fun, and I enjoyed all the different looking companions. The apartment buildings made me think of the ones from Half-Life 2. I enjoyed sneaking around the waste facility. Overall, there's so much to explore. There's a lot of different side quests and just a lot of different companions to talk to, so I definitely suggest taking a lot of time in this area just to explore and talk to people. All the flashy lights and happy vibes are gone now. You wake up in a cage hanging from the ceiling. This prison looks abandoned. It could come crumbling down at any point. Makes you think of the prisons from Gears of War 1 when Dom meets Marcus. There's not a whole lot of exploring in this level, but the things you find are pretty horrifying. The Sentinels are doing horrible things to the companions. At one point you find a cell with a companion being strapped to the chair and I'm assuming having their hard drive wiped. You come across a couple of companions in this level talking about the fear of having this done to them, and you even see the aftermath of one such process happening. The devs did a great job of providing tension and feeling of dread in this level. The last level looks like there was never a plague. It doesn't even look like time has passed. The companions here appear to not have the same level of intelligence as the other ones in the lower levels, as if they were just created to keep the place clean and assist humans in their travels. From the main room, you get a beautiful view of the whole city below, just how big it is. I know it felt like big during the game, but it was still a shock to see how much of the city we didn't actually get to explore. You also get even a bigger look of the Zerg infestation than you did at the top of the Tower of the Slums. There's not much else to say about this level without going into the story. Definitely worth sitting for a bit and looking out at the city though, especially after you open the roof. I know a lot of people bought this game because you play as a cat in a cyberpunk city, and while that was really fun, there's actually way more to this story than that. You know, the 1,000-foot look at the story is that you play as a cat who ended up falling through the city walls into the dead city, and now you're trying to make your way back out. Along the way, you come across this robot called B12, who was actually a human who was sick with the plague, had uploaded himself into the server. And in that process of being in the server, he learned the language of the companions. The companions also, you know, their personalities and such really make this story shine. You know, the ones in the lower level just trying to live, but they're being hunted by the Zerg, and then the ones at the top are being oppressed by the Sentinels that were built by the upper class citizens when they were oppressing the lower class humans. And overall, just, you know, a great story and great triumph. This alone is worth it. My first playthrough, the game took me about 8 hours to beat. It's not a long game, but I took time to go and talk to every companion and explore the beaten path to see what I could learn. Like I said, you learn a lot about how humanity, died out due to this plague from B12's memories, as well as how the Zerg mutated and such. And really, I can't say enough. Like the story is just great, and I think that you guys should definitely give it a try. The story was definitely an 8 out of 10 in my opinion. Gameplay wise, maybe it's another 8 out of 10. The gameplay felt great, but the story's what shined. Like, I think if this game was to just been the gimmick of playing as a cat and a cat simulator, that it would not have shined as much as it did. It really was the story. It's a story-driven game. I enjoyed playing this game from start to finish. Exploring and talking to everyone was amazing, and I enjoyed the side quests, even though there weren't that many. I did like some of the callbacks from other games as well, like the Skyrim reference in Midtown. And overall, I would say the game was worth full price. You only gripe I probably have with it is that I wish there would have been more unlockables. Like, you can collect badges and stuff, but there's no unlockable skins for the cats or B12. Like I said, if you're on PC though, there's mods to take care of that. But I think it's something that the devs could easily implement. But besides that, that's really my only gripe, and I think that it would definitely be worth full price.